Hi, everyone. I'm calling this meeting of the Outreach Committee to order at 7:32 p.m. on November 21st, 2022. I'll begin with a territorial acknowledgement in that we respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. I'll now start off with the roll call of attendance. First on the roll call is Communications Counselor.
Hey everyone, my name is Alan Ripke, pronouns he, him, all my access needs are met.
Next is myself. Hi everyone, my name is Ben Tischler, pronouns he, him, all my access needs are met. Next up, World Language and Literature.
Raghava, he, him, all access needs are met.
Ex officio is not here, Finance not here, Physics.
I'm Daniel, pronouns any and all my access needs are met.
Sorry, thanks, Daniel. We're now on to the consent agenda. There's one item in the consent agenda that is matters arising from the minutes, just receiving and filing the November 7th meeting minutes. So I will seek unanimous consent on the consent agenda. If you wish to abstain or dissent, please use the Zoom raise hand feature and I'll record your vote. Seeing none, the consent agenda is carried unanimously. We're now on to the adoption of the agenda. The motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. I will move. Is there a second?
Communication.
Communication seconds, opening for discussion. If there's any amendments, I'm gonna move an amendment to the agenda to create a new section 6 titled Ratification of Regrets with a new motion 6.1. Be it resolved to ratify the regrets of RHA counselor for the November 21st OC meeting. Just in the chat as well, the motion reads, be it resolved to ratify the regrets of RHA counselor Emmanuel A for the November 21st OC meeting. I'm just amending this on. I will move this amendment. Is there a second?
Communication.
Communication seconds. Any discussion? Any discussion? No? Okay. I will then proceed to a vote on the amendment. I will seek unanimous consent if you wish to abstain or dissent to adding the new section 6 ratification of regrets. Please use the Zoom raise hand feature and I'll record your vote. Seeing none, the amendment is carried unanimously. We're now back to the main motion, which reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Are there any other amendments folks would like to make today? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote on this. So I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to abstain or dissent on the adoption of the agenda, please use the Zoom raise hand feature. Seeing none, the adoption of the agenda is carried unanimously as amended. We're now on to section 6, which is now titled Ratification of Regrets. Motion 6.1 reads, be it resolved to ratify the regrets of Emmanuel A. something last name for the November 21st OC meeting. Is there a mover for this motion?
Communication.
Communications move. Second, I guess Abby. VP Finance seconds. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I will seek unanimous consent to ratify these regrets. If you wish to abstain or dissent on the motion, please use the Zoom raise hand feature. Seeing none, the motion is carried unanimously. We're now on to section 10, item 10.1, matters arising from last year's OC files. This was submitted by the communications counselor, Alan Ripke. The blurb reads, bring up anything everyone found interesting or worth talking about within the Google Drive or old OC files. And I'll pass the floor over to Alan.
Yeah, so pretty much after last week's meeting, we just looked through the Google Drive to see if there's anything worth keeping, any ideas actually worth bringing to fruition for this one. And one thing I did like very much was in one of the files, I believe it was a suggestion by Almas. It was the idea of a pamphlet for mostly membership and also mostly new students. And I thought maybe collaborating with staff to actually create a small pamphlet, maybe not to the extent of like a brochure, but like a small 3-page thing. It might be a good way to at least reach and introduce ourselves to new membership in that way. Whether it's the current, I don't know, we could just develop a template and each year would just be updated with who's the current president, the VP finances, the UAAs. I thought that might be an interesting idea for an introduction. So when we did talk a little bit last meeting about where we want outreach to kind of go, if we do were to go down that production route, I think a pamphlet might actually be more interesting than just creating videos. It might actually connect us to membership a bit more.
If folks want to list on this, please just list in the chat. First up is Daniel.
Yeah, so I actually kind of really like that idea. I didn't too much enjoy the idea of a video that was sort of tossed around a lot. But I was thinking it would be nice to have sort of papers that we could just give to people to help them get a better understanding. So a pamphlet or like a brochure would be perfect for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Daniel and Alan as well. I think the idea of pamphlets would be a great idea. And working with staff on that as well. Any other discussion on this item? Any other discussion? No? All right. We're now on to item 10.2 on the agenda, which is Future of Outreach Committee. This was also submitted by the Communications Counselor, Alan Lupke. The blurb reads PR and discussion-based work. So I'll pass the floor over to Alan.
Yeah, I honestly could have condensed both of these discussions, but I do feel that outreach committee is kind of in a lost position based on the way it's set up right now. The goal isn't very clear. We could either go into production or we could do a different route. And it's one route I actually did think about a bit. I had the idea, and I've been kind of like toiling over it for the past 2 weeks, but outreach should almost be an internal committee. There is very little we can actually do without working with staff and overtreading what their responsibilities are in actually engaging with membership. We can't really make an Instagram account. We can't make a Twitter account, and we can't inform students of any bias that wouldn't reflect what council has voted on. And that isn't our goal, but it's also something that's very possible to accidentally do. So I had the idea that outreach committee, while we could be making pamphlets as well, we should mostly be focused on discussions about media that represents the SFSS. What's working, what's not reaching membership, what's trending about the SFSS on Facebook or Reddit. And we do not have any power, but we would at least assess how that is reflective of our society as a whole, whether this is something students really want and value, or if this is something we can grade or match. So I wanted to gauge your guys' opinion on what would you guys think if outreach had a, let's say, either a monthly or bi-weekly discussion. I mean, our meetings are bi-weekly, about pretty much any interesting media about SFSS or SFS socials that have come up and are worth talking about. Now, SFSS does like include us as counselors in our meetings, but it also includes anything a DSU is doing that's interesting, anything a DSU is doing that's reaching their membership more effectively than we are on our Instagram. The goal here, I think, shouldn't be to criticize staff at all. It shouldn't even be close. It shouldn't be to criticize our socials, but to evaluate how effectively we actually are reaching membership. So yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, I want to know what you guys think about having at least a bi-weekly or monthly discussion about just any media about the SFSS.
Floor is open for discussion. If you want to list yourself, please do so in the chat. Yes, seeing no one else listing themselves, I'll list myself. And say, yeah, I think that sounds like a really good idea. I guess I assume you're suggesting in the sense of sort of looking at like what's working, what isn't. In some sense, yeah, I would agree with that. Alan, you have a direct response.
Yeah, I had the idea that it would be great if, let's say, every 2 or 3 months or every term, the outreach committee gets to create a report, it wouldn't be too much work, of course, but just really understanding what were the main criticisms of the SFSS on social medias and on media this term. And that gets sent to the president or the exec team. And there's really nothing we can do except be almost in just recommendation. But there has to be something at least to help understand how the SFSS is being represented at all. And I think that's a way outreach can kind of pivot into.
Raghava, you have a direct response?
Yeah, just a clarifying question. Is there what is the engagement arm for the SFSS to engage the students and keep them informed about what the SFSS is doing and what it's about?
Abby, we're on 10.2. And directly responding to that, I would say the engagement arm, I think, is our communications staff would be at least what I would sort of equate to our engagement arm. But Alan, if you want to provide any more thoughts to that as well.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so the best way students do get information about the SFSS is through our social medias, and it's through our, like the weekly or the monthly email about the SFSS, and it's through our communication staff. So I think we should not be able to have any power in this committee, but we should be able to make recommendations or provide insights of what we thought was important or what was done or what's working and what's not. So whether we produce, let's say, just a report at the end of each term, and that gets sent to the executives and also the communication and outreach staff, just saying what outreach has noticed this year. Not really wanting any power in that. I think that would be an interesting thing where we can at least be a standing committee where we actually produce like work each month. So yeah.
Anyone have anything else they want to say on this item? Raghava in the chat sounds good. Daniel, it's a start. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, this is a start. I see something like this will take a huge amount of time. We'll have to amend our own constitution. And I just want to set up outreach for the next few years. I hope we can at least work, at least for the rest of this term, to slowly stabilize what outreach committee is and set it up for the future. So yeah, it's a start.
Thanks, Alan. Anyone else have anything they want to say on this? Going once, twice. All right. We'll move on to section 16 of our agenda. Motion 16.1 is be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 7:45 p.m. I'll move this motion. Is there a second?
Communication.
Communication seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll go to a vote. I'll seek unanimous consent on the motion to adjourn. If you wish to abstain or vote against the motion to adjourn, please use the Zoom raise hand feature and I'll record your vote. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.